All right, response number 2. So I'm going to go over the conceptualization for this family. It's pretty clear they are seriously lacking some boundaries. It sounds like there is very little parental or executive subsystems going on. There's no hierarchy with the parents. They are not united. And, even though they're coming into therapy, that the daughter's drinking is a problem, which it is. We can agree that that is a problem. But in order for them to correct that behavioral issue with their daughter, the parents need to probably do the majority of the work to kind of take back some of that hierarchy, to set some boundaries, and that will create a development, I think, in the family structure. So obviously the big goal here is boundaries. For structural therapy, a lot of the goals are to change or kind of alter the family structure, and that's done by developing or changing the boundaries that are currently at play, and getting into more of a to develop those family subsystems that are needed for, especially for this family. There's no executive subsystem going on, so that'll be something that we'll need to work on with this family. The creation of an effective hierarchy. The parents need to be in charge of what's happening. Even though they have different parenting styles, they need to agree on some things as far as how they want to parent their daughter, how they want their rules to go, anything like that in the house. So that way the daughter understands that the parents are both in agreement of what she needs to be doing. I'm recording a video. Sorry, guys. Some of the ways that we can do that are obviously the creation of boundaries. There's some really good, let me pull it up here. There's some really good interventions that you can use using structural therapy for these types of families. The big one, again, boundary making. The therapist will help the family identify, explore, and adopt clear boundaries and hierarchies within the family. This is a couple of the techniques I found off of wellmind.com. It's online, but they have a really good way of explaining their different techniques and interventions that they use for this type of therapy. So for boundary making, sit down with the family, kind of identify some things that they may agree on that they need to have for rules in the home, and really kind of get them to a place where those rules are very clear. They can both be firm on them because they both agree, and really help the parents kind of get on the same page with their parenting styles. They may not agree on some things, but what is it that they do agree on, and then we can work from there. Another thing that I think would be interesting to do with this family is to do some kind of role playing. Seems like there's a lot of resentment going on. There's a lot of coalition happening with the mother or the daughter and the father. And they don't really seem to kind of understand where the mother's coming from with the authority component that she's bringing to the table. So with role playing, we can have them kind of act out some scenarios with the therapist, with me, to where we can put them in situations to where they have to adapt certain behaviors and things like that they have with their parent or with their child, and they can kind of start to identify some of the dysfunction that's happening, some things that may be happening that they didn't recognize before. And then we can, after that, practice doing an alternative role playing where they're doing an alternative scenario and seeing how the outcomes are a little bit different. I think that kind of helps reframe some of the problems and some of the misconceptions that they might have about what's going on with the different family members. And again, the other one would be to reframe. So have the therapist help family members think about situations in different ways. Again, like I said, there's a lot of resentment, I feel like, happening, especially with the daughter, and really the daughter. The father does too. They seem to have a lot of resentments towards the mother because she's the only one trying to grasp at some sort of boundary or authority with, it sounds like, both of them. So to have them be able to kind of reframe their thinking, I think will help them to view certain situations in different ways. Get the father to kind of understand where the mother's coming from. I really think that if you start taking those kinds of interventions and put those in play with the family, they may be able to start seeing where the other person's coming from. And I think that that will strengthen the family dynamic. And help them to together create boundaries, because the daughter will have to create her boundaries as well. And I think if they can get to a point where they understand each other, they're going to have more improved communication. They're going to be less reactive and not be so demanding. That the boundaries will actually be healthy instead of this maladaptive thing that they're doing where they're just challenging each other all the time. They're really kind of throwing things out. Well, you let me drink at home, so therefore it's okay. They can understand how that isn't going to help the situation, bring a lot more balance into the family. And I think that it will also increase the parental competence and satisfaction. So I think that if both parents are united and their child is able to act and behave differently with them, that it'll actually bring a little bit more peace to the home, which I think both parents will appreciate. And I think that it will reduce that resentment that they have towards each other right now. By having a better understanding, of course, they're not going to be feeling like they're being picked on or ganged up on. That they're going to be able to understand each other a little bit more. And I think that that will be really good for this family. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Hope you had a great weekend. See you next week.